it's Tuesday. Celtic aren't playing until Saturday. When we do take to the field in Dingwall against Ross County, you won't actually be able to legally watch the game live unless you have a ticket. And given that there are less than 2,000 of them available to Celtic fans for the game on Saturday, it's kind of a slim chance. Certainly the vast majority of Celtic fans will not be able to legally watch the game on Saturday. It's a very strange set of circumstances, and I thought today we could take a little bit of a look at the broadcasting arrangements for Celtic, Scottish football, even European football, and look to the future as well. What will happen? Ideally, what are we hoping to happen? We have touched on this before on the channel, but today I thought we could do a little bit of a deep dive, or I suppose a big bit of a deep dive. So yeah, let's just get into it. But before we get started today, I thought I could tell you the story of John Hughes, the Celtic Lisbon Lion who died at the age of 79 on Monday. John Yogi Hughes, who's not to be confused with the Celtic player of the same name from the 1990s, was an attacker signed from Shotts Bon Accord in 1959. He joined Celtic at a pretty difficult time. I think now we look back at the 60s and 70s and all the success we had there. But in the early 60s, prior to Jock Stein's arrival, it was a pretty difficult time for Celtic, although Hughes was one of the bright spots. He was a big guy, 6'2", probably just as wide as well, who used his frame really well and had a knack of scoring absolute belters for Celtic. Now, once Jock Stein joined, he continued to be a big player, scoring a double in the 2-1 League Cup final victory over Rangers in 1965. In 1966-67, that historic Celtic season, the best we've ever had, Hughes played a big part in our success, but he did miss the showpiece final in Lisbon due to injury. He did, however, play in 5 of the 9 matches that won us the European Cup, therefore making him a Lisbon Lion and perhaps a real underrated member of that Lisbon Lions squad. In 1970 European Cup, when again we reached the final, he scored and played a crucial part in the semi-final victory over Leeds United. Played in the final defeat to Feyenoord. Again, disappointment for Hughes after missing the final in 1967. The one he played in, we lost, and he actually missed a really good chance in extra time. Something that perhaps Jock Stein didn't ever forgive him for. Certainly that's how John Hughes felt about it, speaking later on in his life. He continued to contribute for Celtic in the coming years before eventually being eased out of the team when the next batch of youngsters came through, the likes of Kenny Dalglish at this stage, so no disgrace. As I just touched on there, he did have a falling out with Jock Stein to the extent where he didn't actually go to Jock Stein's funeral. Someone who he felt never forgave him for that 1970 final, and he was even quoted once as telling Celtic Underground podcast that Jock Stein had ruined his life. He went on to play for Crystal Palace and Sunderland briefly after leaving Celtic before a knee injury ended his career, but it was always at Celtic where he was most adored. In total, he won 17 trophies for Celtic. That's 7 league titles, 5 League Cups, 4 Scottish Cups, and of course that European Cup in 1967. He played 416 matches for the club with a really impressive scoring tally of 189 goals. He'll be forever remembered as one of Celtic's greats. Rest in peace, John. Okay then, let's move on and talk about broadcasting TV. And just to begin, where are we at the moment as far as Celtic are concerned, the competitions we play in? First of all, the Premiership, as you will no doubt know, in terms of live matches, is shown exclusively on Sky Sports. We have just started the third season of our 5-season deal, which sees Sky show, or at least they're meant to show, 48 Premiership matches per season. The 2 cup competitions are shown on Premier Sports. That's the League Cup, which is actually known as the Premier Sports Cup for the next couple of seasons at least. That will be on Premier Sports until at least the end of 2026-27 campaign, so a good few years to run on that deal, while the current contract for the Scottish Cup, which is shared with the BBC, is until the end of next season. In terms of Europe, as again you will know, BT Sport holds the rights to the Champions League, the Europa League and the Conference League until the end of next season, when the new cycle will kick in. That's when the new format of the Champions League is coming in. At that stage, Amazon Prime will enter the fray alongside BT. BT still showing the vast majority of matches, but Amazon probably getting the best pick, I think, on every Tuesday, certainly in the Champions League. So why am I telling you all this? Well, Sky Sports for the league, BBC and Premier Sports for the Cups, BT Sport and soon to be Amazon Prime for European competition, maybe Celtic TV too, fair chance Celtic TV, who knows, a Celtic season ticket as well. It is a lot of money to be paying every single month, every single season to watch Celtic. I know that with these things there's always a tendency to just shout IPTV at the top of your voice, but I feel that kind of misses the point with this whole thing. The point is that football is far too expensive to watch, both in terms of app matches and if you're watching on television. And you could argue that despite paying all that money, you're still missing out on watching your team play on some occasions. Now, take Saturday, for example, Ross County versus Celtic. Sky Sports aren't showing this game. They've instead gone for the Edinburgh Derby. Fair enough. You know, Edinburgh Derby's a big game. My personal viewpoint is there should be a contract in place that allows them to show both. I think we've got a great league at the moment. We should be trying to show as much of it as we can to the wider world, and having to choose between some great games, given how many strong teams we've got in the top flight at the moment in terms of, you know, comparison to recent years, I don't think is great. But the facts are that they've gone for the Edinburgh Derby, and Ross County versus Celtic won't be shown on Sky Sports. In recent seasons, that has been kind of okay to an extent, because we've then been able to pay money directly to Ross County for their pay-per-view service to watch the match. In fact, that actually happened against County in each of the previous 2 seasons. We had a 5-0 win there in 2020, and we had the dramatic Ralston winner last season. Both of those matches were on pay-per-view only. Earlier this week, Partick Thistle confirmed that the SPFL had informed them that live streaming of matches to the UK and Ireland would not be permitted this season. This had been allowed in previous campaigns, the last 2 years. First of all, when supporters couldn't get to matches due to the pandemic, it allowed them an opportunity to watch on pay-per-view from home. It was a great idea. But now that, thankfully, the pandemic seems to be certainly getting to the end point, we're certainly past the worst stages, we are back to where we were in terms of broadcasting, but with not as many Celtic matches being shown as at that previous stage. For example, last season, 6 of our 19 away matches were not shown by Sky. At that stage, fans were forced to pay money directly to clubs for pay-per-view, but they got to see the matches. But as we've just covered, that isn't going to be an option this coming season, so that does seem like an issue. As always in Scottish football, the reaction from any other supporters watching this video will be, you support Celtic, you're entitled. I support Livingston, I support Dundee United. Our away matches are never shown online and we don't complain about it. And again, that whataboutery is missing the point for me. The point here is that there are holes in the current Premiership deal, and they need to be sorted out when the next deal is negotiated. And as I say, that's going to begin in 2025. That may seem a long way off, but we usually find out about these deals 2 years in advance. So I think over the next year or so, we'll find out more about the coming deal. Sky are likely to be big players again. So are Nordic streaming platform Viaplay, who recently bought over Premier Sports. Amazon Prime, BT Sport could also be involved too, so who knows. The next deal needs to show more Scottish football. For me, the league is in as strong a place as it's been for certainly 10 or 15 years, and by that I mean there's competition throughout the league in terms of, title races, battles for European places, relegation, etc. We've got 3 teams guaranteed European group stage football this season, and in subsequent seasons as well. When was the last time that happened? And we should be trying to show as much of this as we can. At the very least, it should allow clubs to sell pay-per-view directly to supporters. It's 2022 and no fans should be unable to legally see their team play at the weekend, whether it's going to the game or having a link online. And that is a situation that faces Celtic fans without a ticket for the game on Saturday. We know what's going to happen though. People are just going to turn to dodgy links, IPTV, Hezgoal, etc. on Saturday anyway. So why not offer an official channel where people can keep the money in Scottish football? SPFL TV for me is doable, and I'll maintain that a subscription service is more doable nowadays than it was back then. When you look at how people watched entertainment TV right now, it's gone from simply turning your telly on at a certain time and watching something to subscription services like Netflix and Amazon Prime. I know live sport is always going to be kind of kept away from that to an extent because, it's only live once, as Sky Sports would say. But I think there is an avenue for a subscription service. The problem is that the clubs are never going to take that risk after the way the Setanta deal went just over a decade ago. Sky are a safe pair of hands, but the deal isn't doing enough for me. Financially, it's fine, but are they showing enough Scottish football? And are they kind of showing Scottish football in a fine light, the best way they could when they are showing games? It'd be great for me if someone fresh like Amazon Prime or maybe back with BT Sport could cough up the money and deliver the coverage our game deserves. I think the key point here is the next contract has to be kind of more in line with the times, really. We're no longer living in the early 21st century. We're now at a stage where people can watch any game they want, and I think the new TV deal has to cater for that. Scottish football has been shown in many countries around the world right now. Just last month, there was a new 38 game per season Japanese deal centred around Celtic that was announced. Deals with the likes of ESPN in the States and beIN in New Zealand and Australia have led to Scottish football being shown in over 150 territories currently. It's just a shame that the very country the game is being broadcasted from seems to be being left behind a little bit. Hopefully this is going to be addressed in the upcoming TV deals. I mean, the league is a big one. Obviously the cups are kind of not quite as big a deal because that's only a handful of games a season. But it just feels like Scottish football needs to move with the times with this. We'll wait and see how things go. I can't say I'm too optimistic that they're going to transpire in the right way. We'll be back tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for watching this. Let us know in the comments below what you make of the current broadcasting system and what needs to happen in the future.